Assalamualaikum and a very good day. So hope you are in a good health and stay safe always. So I'm very honored to be able to participate in the fourth international conference on social science, humanity and technology via virtual and online conference today. So today I would like to share part of my studies, title Employee Engagement, Does Coworker Support Matters? In Malaysia, in study in Malaysia oil and gas operations. So my name is Ridwan Mokhtar. On behalf of the rest of the team, I will be the presenter for today. So I will be covering all these subsections. So it will start with the introduction, problem statement, research objective, literature review, conceptual framework, estimations, procedures, data and methodology, findings and analysis, conclusion, as well as the recommendations. So in the introduction, I would like to bring you in some attention with regards to current pandemic that's going on. So the opening decade is actually marked an unprecedented event whereby the opening is come together with the pandemic, which is known as COVID-19. Where currently there is more than 400,000 confirmed death toll across the globe, with more than 7 million cases recorded. So with this thing happen, with the fast infection rate across the globe, so some of the nation has imposed a strict standard operating procedures, including a lockdown. So when the lockdown is imposed, so the increase of the unemployment rate as well as the crime rate, and it also will bring down the global GDPs. So as far as industry is concerned, the oil and gas industry is not also being spared, whereby during this pandemic, the oil demand reduced due to the series of lockdown, which lead oil price historic crash below zero recently. Thus, it put threats to the oil and gas company on their survivability in overcoming this pandemic, which is very uncertain. So in addition, based on the survey done by a company in 2018 report on the employee engagement rate in Asia Pacific, Malaysia employee engagement stand at 63%, whereby far below than their peers or neighbors is Indonesia at 76% and Philippines at 71%, as well as Thailand at 64%. So it put Malaysia among the lowest employee engagement score within the Southeast Asia. So thus, with the new pandemic as well as the current situation on the lower engagement rate among the Malaysian, so this study has been conducted to examine where the co-worker effect towards the employee engagement, especially how to stay engaged with the organization during the challenging period. So I will walk you through based on the presentation. So in problem statement, so this is the applied gap that I would like to mention. So the limited of research on oil and gas sector, especially offshore Malaysia, context on co-worker support aspect. Because some of the previous literatures is focusing on oil and gas, but purely on onshore. And never in the literature assessing the effect on the co-worker. So with this study, this is can be one of the breakthrough in evaluating the aspect of co-worker support. So the current finding only also limited to working environment, as mentioned previously. So as you can see that offshore, the nature is quite different as compared to downstream, that located at onshore. whereby downstream industry, oil and gas, you can go back to your families and home, whereby you can always reach out to your loved one if there is any needs or emergency. Whereas people that located at offshore, they need to work there for certain period. For in Malaysia, typically is 2 weeks, about 14 days. But of course, during this pandemic, the company actually try to assess or actually being changed in terms of the schedule from 14 days to 28 days. So this sometimes create a mental distress, but how the company can plan ahead in managing the mental distress among the workers, especially as employee at offshores. So in terms of research objective, so the objective of this presentation is to examine the effect of co-worker support towards the employee engagement. So here's some literature review. It's quite brief. So the employee engagement is actually started by Han 1990, whereby the employee engagement was defined as the harnessing of organization members' self to their work roles in engagement. People employ and express themselves physically, cognitively, emotionally, and mentally during role performance. In terms of definition by Sachs 2006, the employee engagement has been distinguished into two types. The first one is a job engagement, which refers to the extent of which the individual is actually fascinated in the performance of his or her own individual jobs. Whereas the other dimension in the employee engagement is organizational engagement, which to measure the extent on the individual is psychological present as a member of an organization. So in 1986, Eisenberg et al. Introduced the concept of passive organizational support, whereas it defined that as the employee belief concerning the extent to which the organization values their contribution and care about their well-being. And in 1965 by Levinson, so the agent performing tasks for the organization are its self-organization and their action will be action of the organization. So it means that anything or supervisors or management that act on behalf of organization, it will represent the action of the organization as a whole in the eyes of the employees. So according to the recent research by Eva et al. In 2019, it mentioned clearly that co-worker feedback can be used to supplement the lack of supervisors' feedback when required. So it seems that from this study, the co-worker can complement the setback from the other parties, especially on the agent performing tasks. So in terms of carry out the study, so this study I choose this social exchange theory as a concept, as a main theory, which is an open-ended, informal, and long-term relationship based on verbal obligation to reciprocate. So this theory explains that whenever the organization do something to the employees, so the employee will reciprocate in terms of their actions. So for instance, that if the management impose some bonuses, if they perform the work timely with high quality, so the staff will reciprocate their action towards achieving the target in completing the task in proper manner. To continue, so the conceptual framework and the estimation procedure. So this is the conceptual framework that I will be using during the study. So the one part, the independent variable is the passive organizational support. So one of the mention is the co-worker support, and The other one is the employee engagement is the DV, whereby the dependent variable which have two dimension. Okay, and in terms of the hypothesis, so there will be two hypotheses for this study. So the first one is the co-worker support has the positive relationship with job engagement. And for hypothesis number two is a co-worker support has a positive relationship on the organizational engagement. So in terms of the estimation procedures, so employee engagement, I will be using SEX 2006, and I adopting SEX 2006, and for coworker, I will be using Hammer et al. 2004. So this is the data and methodology for this study. So the data type is a quantitative approach. So the data collection through a questionnaire. Target population is offshore employee that working in Malaysia, oil and gas facilities. The sampling design, I will choose a probability sampling and the cluster sampling because we have 3 regions in Malaysia, so I need to distribute it equally in order to represent, in order to generalize the findings later. So in terms of sample size, targeted sample size is 250 respondents. And the survey plan, I do it self-administered. So this is the finding in terms of demographics of the respondent. So most of the respondent is male at about 10 to 90%, and most of them is married. Education-wise, most of them has a diploma, almost 42%. And the higher participant race in terms of race is Malay, about almost 40%. And in terms of location is, since the questionnaire is distributed equally through the state, so this is the representative for each state. In terms of working tenure, so most of them are more than 5 years in the working environment, especially at offshore. Okay, so when we proceed with the findings and analysis, so in conducting the measurement model, so we in PLS, so we need to run the reflective, formative, as well as reflective and formative measurement. So under reflective, so we conducted composite reliability, loadings, and average variance extracted. So as you can see that the composite values is ranged between 0.89 to 0.958, which exceeded the recommended value of 0.7 according to Hare et al. 2010. In terms of the average variance extracted, the range is about 0.579 to 0.791, which exceeded the threshold of 0.5 according to Hare et al. 2010. In terms of discriminant validity, which in this study I will be using the HTMT, has been established at 0.85, which is as per Klein 2011. In terms of formative measurement, so the convergent validity test has been conducted, where the formative construct must be highly correlated with the reflective measures of the same construct, Spechin 1998. As a result of redundancy analysis, the path coefficient result at 0.887, which more than 0.7. Hence, the formative measures construct have sufficient degree of convergent validity. Okay, we proceed with the findings. So in terms of hypothesis findings, result for direct effect. So based on the structural model assessment, the study concludes that the co-workers support has a positive relationship with both employee engagement dimension, which are job engagement as well as the organizational engagement. Hence, both hypotheses of the study has been supported. So in terms of the other parameters, so as you can see that the VIF the variant inflector factor is actually 1, which is less than 3.3 as per Diamantopoulos and Segal 2006 in measuring the lateral collinearity. So, which shows that there is no issues on the collinearity. So, in terms of effect size, coworker support has a substantial effect size on job engagement, which the F squared value showing about 0.438, whereas the coworker has a medium to substantial effect on the organizational engagement, where the F squared values showing about 0.269. So it's indicate that the coworker support is more dominant in terms of influencing the job engagement rather than organizational engagement. So conclusion. So this is study conclude that co-worker support has a positive relationship toward employee engagement among offshore employees in Malaysia. The co-worker support has a substantial effect size on job engagement dimension of employee engagement. And last but not least, the co-worker support has a medium effect on the organizational engagement dimension of employee engagement. So in order to increase the job engagement, I believe the co-worker support can be a factor that organization can be focused on in terms of for them to be more committed in performing their job. Whereas the side effect of it is the organization engagement will also be increased indirectly. Okay, I come to my last slide. So this is a recommendation from the study. So the organization, especially oil and gas company, need to acknowledge the fact that by having a positive offshore crew, it can enhance the co-worker support among them during the challenging period that will lead to higher employee engagement level among the offshore employees. So when you have a positive crew and based on the engagement and so on, so they can build a positive conducive environment, and then they will support each other, because the treatment there is very different from onshore. When you at offshore, that is your family, it's considered your second family, so you are taking care of each other, especially in terms of safety, and you will spend most of your time with them. For instance, if you have a regular crew about 2 weeks, actually you are working with them almost the same as you are the time that you spend with your own family, about 6 months or 6 months with your family, and another 6 months with your friends or co-worker in offshore. So another part that I want to bring, especially with this pandemic, so due to the uncertainty of this pandemic, we never know whether it will be prolonged or it will be reduced in terms of numbers. So oil and gas company need to start to invest, and fully utilize and subscribe digital platform to ensure the engagement still exists, especially for offshore employees. Currently, we know that most of the people that working, especially in offshore, they face an issue because they have also commitment, because their family is also actually being maybe not working due to the current situation, and they also need to think about the schools, because the school also not all is open yet. So this is something that actually plays in the minds of the employee at offshores. So how to treat that mindset? So the company need to provide minimal infrastructure for them to feel connected with their families. So because some of the platform, they have very minimal bandwidth in terms of connecting to internet and so on. So this is something that maybe need to look into. for the company, for them to be able to reach out to their family instantly without any restrictions, and for them to be mentally uh, for them to be mentally good, and as well they can perform their work peacefully. So I think with that, thank you very much for the opportunity, and stay safe. Thank you.